back to another chilling episode of Gens Before Friends. Today we are delving into the twisted lore of the twins from Dead by Daylight. I
Whoop
am your
whoop.
host, Morbid Plum, and I am joined by Mockingbird
Hello.
and Queen Amgie.
Hello, hello.
Today we have a tale that will send shivers down your spine.
Fancy.
I feel like it's perfect for October, right? Like it's
Yeah.
kind of creepy. So
Yeah.
let's see. All right. So we're doing a deep dive lore into the twins. Um, Not my favorite killers, but honestly, that's fine.
It's
They actually
okay.
have a very detailed backstory going into it. I was very surprised. I did learn some things about Victor and Charlotte that I didn't know, so hopefully you will too. So before we get into the lore, I'll just give you some like context. They were introduced in December of 2020, and it was a DLC entitled A Binding of Kin. This chapter also included Elodie Ricardo as a survivor, but we're not going to include her in this lore since she technically has a different timeline. However, their tales are entwined because of the Black Veil, which is loosely mentioned in the lore. So, yeah, once we go back, or once we get to Felix and Elodie, I have a feeling the twins and these shadowy members of the Black Veil will pop back up. All right, so let's get into it. I'm excited.
Ooh, me too.
Let's see. Our story begins in the 17th century, and it's in a remote corner of France. A pair of conjoined twins, Charlotte and Victor Day, were born. Their birth, though miraculous in its own way, set the stage for a life of persecution and suffering. Victor was not like other children because his lower body was actually affixed into the chest of his sister Charlotte, with his legs twisted around her muscles and organs. And he's obviously smaller than Charlotte, growing basically as if he was an appendage of her body rather than a normal child. So as they were born, the midwife who delivered them freaked out and ran yelling from the house, saying there was a demon and the mother's a witch.
Oh.
And so their mother Madeline was forced to take them and flee into the French countryside where they hid and ran from people trying to persecute their mother as a witch. And unfortunately, at the age of 5, their mother fell ill, and Charlotte was burdened with the responsibility of collecting food. So Charlotte would go into the nearby town to gather food, but she had to like conceal Victor so that no one obviously saw it because I'm sure it would kind of freak some people out, you know?
For sure.
So she did what she'd been trained for by her mother, and she waited for an opening at the market and would swipe whatever food she could find. So apparently her mother kind of taught her how to steal, but I mean, I guess if you're stealing for food, obviously, are you really stealing? I guess. Unfortunately, this did last for a little while, but at midnight or after midnight of that day, a mob of witch hunters found their camp and ripped the twins from their bed. Madeline's pleas for her children fell on deaf ears, and she was declared guilty of witchcraft. Her punishment was swift and brutal.
Mhm.
Charlotte and Victor unfortunately had to watch their mother burn to death while they were
Mm.
caged and transported to an old wooden temple where they were sold to a secretive group clad in dark cloaks. Within this temple, they were unfortunately subjected to bizarre experiments, some cruel, some baffling, not knowing what was happening to them. Their only solstice was each other, of course, and Charlotte became Victor's protector, and their bond grew stronger every day. But of course, the darkest experiment was yet to come. In a room lit with candelabras, the twins were placed on an altar, and a man uttered the words Memento Mori as he withdrew a shining blade. Charlotte let out a desperate screech and knocked over a candelabra, igniting the robes of the cloaked figures. In the midst of the inferno, Charlotte was able to get away, driven by one purpose survival. She emerged from the fire, her body covered in soot and burns, but she got out. She had saved Victor. So she ran into the forest and just ran until she collapsed. Unfortunately, Victor didn't make it, and he
Mm.
Mhm.
was dead. So she kept Victor's corpse, but for some reason he never fully decomposed. And her blood still coursed through him, I guess kind of protecting him in a way. So it seems like he was in like a state of limbo
Oh,
almost.
so he's like still attached to her and
Yeah,
everything?
he's still in her
Oh.
chest, and
Oh
so
my.
she can't find the will to get rid of him because, of course, she loves him so much
Mhm.
and didn't want to be separated from the only family she had left.
Oh.
So that became like her sole reason for living almost. So as she grew into a teenager, her life was basically constant survival. And she just grew to hate humanity even more. She would kill her pursuers, but she was always labeled a monster, a witch, or a demon. And no matter what, people just didn't like her, whether it's because of her looks or maybe they saw Victor. It's not really known. So the Black Cloaks, which is the group that had taken them, the one that we had spoken about earlier, they basically pursued Charlotte to the ends of the earth. She was never able to find a place to live, a place to like hunker
Call home?
down and just, yeah, call home, to
Mhm.
have roots somewhere. One night, the Black Cloaks had found her and they had basically attacked her, and she was laying on the ground ready for death. But Victor, who had been dead for years, came to life
Ooh.
and basically got out of her chest and took off. So, with a newfound something, she got up and chased after him. But unfortunately, he had run into the fog. And that was where the hooded figures had basically led them. So the entity, obviously we know who that is,
Mhm.
subjected the twins to new horrors. Victor transformed from basically a child into an otherworldly creature. He became deadly, spider like looking. He could crawl into the forest, into the darkest corners of the realm. Charlotte, however, retained her human form but embraced her malevolence, trying to seek revenge on those who had wronged her. Yeah, that was basically their beginning and how they kind of made it into the fog. It seems as if they were just chased relentlessly until one day the hooded figures led them into the fog and the entity took everything, like their freedom. And then for some reason, Victor's the only one who transformed into kind of like a monster, I guess.
It's
So,
like
yeah,
it's like Victor ran into the fog and basically like Charlotte chased after him.
yeah, so he awoken as because the cloaks had attacked her
Mhm.
and she was injured, but then she was like, "You know what? I don't care anymore. Like, I'm gonna lay here in the cold and just die because I'm done."
Oh.
But then Victor woke for some reason after being dead since they were little, and yeah, she chased after him, and he had unfortunately ran straight into the fog. So that's how they ended up in the entity's realm.
That's a sad story.
I know. And
Very.
I'm wondering, like, they were talking about, it wasn't clear in the lore. They had been talking about a temple, but I'm not sure if it's the same temple that we saw in the plagues lore. I'm
Oh,
not
like Temple
sure.
of Purgation?
Yeah, because they said that their mother was taken and burned at the stake, and then they were caged and transported to an old temple where they were sold to a secretive group clad in dark cloaks. So I'm not sure if it's similar, maybe?
Oh.
I'm not, yeah, because they said that a man came in and he just uttered memento mori, and that was it. So who knows? Maybe they're similar people because they are
Maybe. Yeah.
part of not Victor, Elodie and
Mhm.
what's his name's lore?
Felix.
Felix.
Felix, there you go.
Yeah.
So we'll probably see more about them, but they're obviously very far off into the future.
That's
um,
interesting. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, that would be interesting if they were linked. I also want to say, like, didn't Nicolas Cage's lore involve them kind of at like a temple thingy too?
I think so. Yeah, I think so because they basically they had like people come in right in his
Hmm.
movie or whatever and do
Mhm.
like the chanting, and that was kind of how they accidentally opened up the
That,
fog.
that was no accident. That was on
Yeah,
purpose. But
that was
that'd
totally on
be,
Yeah.
purpose.
yeah, that would be cool if it was all the Temple of Purgation and it was linked. Because I don't think the twins, correct me if I'm wrong, the twins didn't come with a map, right?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
No, it was just the twins and Elodie, which were
Elodie.
released in that DLC. So
Hmm.
they don't really have a home, which makes sense because they were never able to find one.
But you think if they would have a home, it would be in a forest somewhere.
Right?
Be
Oh,
part of
that'd
Red
be cute.
Forest.
There
Realm.
Yeah,
you go.
I would think it would be part of the Red Forest
It's
realm.
that
That's where the
or
temple location is.
it's that or if you want to have like I'm trying to think
They could all
the
live together.
town. They were
Misfits.
like because she was snatching
Hmm.
food and something, you could do like a town marketplace kind of thing.
Ooh, a
Hmm.
marketplace would be cool.
Part forest, part marketplace.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Kind of like before it all went downhill. I mean, it was
Yeah, they
already
never.
downhill, but before
Well, yeah.
like
Yeah.
before mom was killed,
Yeah,
her
because
having
they
to
were
snatch
doing
food and stuff.
fine. Well, I say fine. They were doing okay.
It
But yeah.
definitely ramped up after they
Yeah.
found them and killed their mom and all that. And I'm curious, like with the experimentation, if that's why Victor came back, or like what did they do to him? Just it's just curious, like what
Yeah, the
if
lore
that had
never
any
went.
lasting effects on
Yeah,
them.
the lore never went into like what the bizarre experiments were, but for whatever reason, Victor never died and
Mm-hmm.
just was basically a part of her until one day he just magically awoke. And it's like, why? I need to know.
She's
But they
it
Well,
didn't tell me.
might have
maybe
been an entity thing too.
does it
Mm,
does it say he was dead or like part of me is now thinking like was he like in a coma?
Mm,
I don't
maybe
know.
because Charlotte says, well, in the story, Charlotte assumed he was dead, that she was burned and got kind of injured. And when she was out from the fire, she said that she was holding on to her dead brother's hand. But
Okay.
we never know if he completely died. Because you could be right. He could
mm,
have just been like in a coma or like some kind of extended state of sleep for some unknown reason.
Yeah.
I
maybe
think
it's
she
because
just
they were
assumed.
attached.
Yeah, like she's
I think,
still
yeah,
like keeping him alive.
because of her
Because
blood.
yeah, he stayed in her chest cavity pretty much
Ugh.
from the time they were children until she was a teenager.
So I think in
So
the lore at some point it mentioned that his corpse was rotting, but it
it
was
never
still
did.
like, really? Didn't it rot?
No, it says Victor's corpse never decomposed fully. So maybe it
Fully.
might have a little bit,
Fully.
like,
Yeah.
it got a little ripe.
I think there was
Yeah,
a little rot
but
there,
you would
but
think
not full.
but over years, of course, it would have like completely rotted and it sounds like it didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like watch any crime show, right? Like you'll see
yeah,
like what a decomposed body is. So it doesn't seem
yeah.
like
It's like a
he never got
suspended.
to that point or
Yeah,
even close to that point of what it should have been.
it was almost like he was in a suspended animation kind of thing,
So he
or
probably
like
just
when
started smelling a little bit or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
he was maybe a little like, eh.
All right.
Should we check on that? But no, it's fine. All right, so they also have a bunch of tome lore, which is pretty in depth. Honestly, I feel like the tome lore went way more into the story of them than the actual lore did. But this one came out for tome 11, and it was published in April of 2022, so not that long ago, really, if you think about it. And it follows it's a look into Charlotte and Victor's past as they evade manhunt and harbor dreams of finding safety beyond the sea, which we'll get into is basically a thing that her mother wanted for them. And their tome was called Side by Side Forever.
Mhm.
So
Oh.
yeah, I know. I was like, that's so sweet. I'm like, I feel kind of bad for them now. Let's see. So our story begins in a forest, which, like much of their past,
Mhm.
Charlotte is heading west as far as from the temple as she possibly can. She was able to escape the hatred and persecution that had haunted her. And as her mother once dreamt of sailing across the ocean west to another world, Charlotte clings to that hope as basically her lifeline. And she still has her brother with her in her chest. As she's walking through the woods, she hears a branch crack behind her, and she instinctively holds Victor closer and wonders if someone's following her. So she continues onward and reaches a stony bridge that leads to a mossy hill. It's risky to stop at the village, but she needs supplies for herself and Victor, who's too weak to move or speak due to the horrors inflicted upon him in the temple. So it looks like he was, I guess, still alive. It's odd that they said he died, but now they just say that he's too weak. So we'll get into that. In the village, Charlotte places Victor in a scarf wrapped around her torso to kind of, conceal herself. That way nobody thinks, oh my God, it's a witch. And uses her mother's teaching to steal food. And her mother always taught her distract, take what you can carry, and leave before being noticed. That's the easiest way in and out. So she goes to a vendor that's selling herbs and ointments and is waiting for her opportunity. When the vendor turns away, she seizes her chance, snatches a few vials, and runs. But the scent of apples beckons her near, and the temptation is too strong. So she crouches down to sneak past him to discover or to steal some fruit. She also discovers cured cheese at this place and
Mm.
grabs a large piece, stuffing it into her bag with a few apples. And so she leaves the vendor behind, and she goes down the street to where beggars are huddling around fires, kindling rubbish for warmth. And it feels so good that she just stands there for a while and rests. But unfortunately, a hand falls on her shoulder, and she's confronted by a menacing villager with a bow. The villager reveals his knowledge of her and threatens to make a fortune by capturing her. So, of course, she freaks out, kicks a pile of garbage, which lights on fire and causes chaos to just
Damn.
erupt everywhere, which seems to be a theme, right? Like
Mhm.
it happened in the other one in the temple. She set everybody on fire. So in the midst of the commotion, she's able to escape, but the villager steals her bag. And he tears the strap and the contents spill everywhere. And unfortunately, she has to just run because it's either her life or the food she stole. So she reaches the bridge and looks back and is upset, obviously, because she lost everything, the food she stole and all that kind of stuff. So as she's looking back, a memory surfaces of a charred face that flashes in front of her. And of course, it's her mother. And she
Mhm.
bites her tongue, suppresses the memory, and continues on. Hopefully, thinking that the villagers are going to maybe leave them alone. So she continues to run and into the dense woods where she reaches a muddy path. And then this is where the new memory starts. So this is memory 6904 from the tome. So she reaches a muddy path, and if she goes that way, she could leave a huge trail. But she's like, who cares? They're after me. I gotta go. I gotta save Victor. She continues on and then decides to take the river as a safer route. But it's cold. It's, winter, and her oversized boots are not helping this situation. So within seconds, she's just drenched in water and she's freezing. So after hours of trekking through the bone chilling water, she arrives at the bottom of a waterfall and the end of a road. And so she looks around trying to find something and she notices, hey, there's a plateau that I could maybe sit on. And hopefully the villagers will just walk right by me. She wraps Victor more in her scarf, but he is also looking very pale. And so she's assuming, hey, I need the rest. Maybe Victor can get rest as well. So she starts to climb and she finds a huge boulder and is able to shift her weight onto the boulder to kind of relax and take a break. But unfortunately, her heel slips out of her oversized boot, sending the boot and the boulder tumbling down the cliff and into the river. So she tries to struggle to hold on, and her fingers are slipping one by one. She's teetering on the
Mhm.
edge and is about to just fall into this huge waterfall that could probably kill her. And as she's hanging there, she thinks, is this the end? Has all of this struggle that I've been in to save myself and Victor been in vain? Because I've done everything and now I'm just going to die. But then she recalls her promise to Victor to save him and give him a chance at freedom. And the memory of that, the memory of her mother, drives her forward. And she's able to grab on to another handhold in the rocks, and she regains her footing. And luckily, she saves herself and Victor. All right, this is the next memory. I'm assuming these memories just continue on. They're all different. They all say they're different memories, but I think they're the exact same. So it's just each one being broken up. Now that she's saved herself, she feels something cold press against her shoulder, and she opens her eyes, and it's Victor. He put his hand on her shoulder, and
Aw.
it's a signal that they have because he doesn't really speak, and it's just a tap on her shoulder when she needs something. And he usually holds her hand when she when he requires attention from her. But now he's too weak to move, and she's not sure what happened. Like, what does he need? So she is able to continue on and hopefully make it to a flat rock that she can just sit on. So she keeps going, takes a leap of faith, and jumps onto this boulder. And she feels herself falling, but then all of a sudden she just stops and she's made it. And she realizes that they might be safe finally.
Mm.
Of course, you finally think we're safe, and then her foot slips.
Again?
And
Bad
yeah,
day. Oh my
I know.
gosh.
She's like, we made it, but then it's wet. Her boots are too big for her. But she manages to stop her fall and finally shifts her weight onto a flat edge of the cliff. And she looks over her shoulder at Victor, and he's safe. And she knows that they've made it, but they're not completely, in the clear. She finally pulls her way up, and it just feels like, oh my God, I'm never going to make this. But we're fine. We're on the edge of the plateau. We're safe. Victor's safe. That's what matters. During the climb, there was a moment where Charlotte, of course, thought everything was over and this was it. And she thought she had a moment of fleeting relief where she was like, hey, nothing terrifies me more than the witch hunters or the black cloaks, not even death. And so she thinks, oh my God, I've betrayed Victor. I'm abandoning him. How could I be so selfish, even for just a moment? So she gets Victor out and she looks at him and she touches his cheek and she thinks, oh my God, I think, I think he's dead. But she says, no, he's not dead. I don't believe it. I'll never believe that I lose Victor because he's everything to me. She says, I promise you that one day I will take you far away from here and we will be safe forever. She lays down with Victor and they take kind of like a nap to just really regain some strength and kind of peace, I guess. So Charlotte opens her eyes after her slumber and she thinks, oh my God, where am I? Like, what happened? And she doesn't know how much time has passed and she's like freaking out because, oh my God, like, is Victor dead? Because he's just laying there. But she touches him and he's warmer and he has color in his cheeks. So she thinks maybe the rest has probably helped us. So when she gets up, she looks and it's just tall pine trees everywhere you can see. And she happens to see a harbor filled with ships heading westward on the horizon. And she thinks, oh my God, we're so close to our new life, the thing that our mother promised us. And she takes off her scarf and unveils Victor's face and kind of points him to the boats and says, like, this is it. And we're going to make it. But she reaches for his hand and it's ice cold and limp. And she says, no, everything's fine. Victor's just simply tired. Everything will be okay. The ships obviously remind Charlotte of her mom's dream for her of sailing west, her and Victor, and a dream for new life. So she takes off her hat, wraps it around Victor, and says, do you know what lies beyond the horizon? My man told me once she dreamt of that place just before she fell sick. She said, there's another world across the sea, a place with clean rivers and sweet syrup dripping from the trees. A whole other world for us to be free. Victor doesn't answer, but Charlotte understands. It's their dream. Everything will be fine. She tells him everything will be all right. Just imagine the voyage. One day we'll sail far away from here. We can sleep in an actual bed. We can watch the dolphins as we're on the ship. Everything will be great. We can have our own little house. And for a moment, she imagines a life for her and Victor, growing their own crops, laying out in the sun. Basically, everything would be normal one day. And one day we'll all be free and we'll find a place where we all belong. And of course, this just fills her with sadness because she knows that her mom won't be there to see it, but at least she can do that for her mother and let Victor have a normal life. As she's standing there on the cliff, she's looking at these amazing ships, knowing this is where we're headed. She decides that they're going to rest another night, and she wakes up the next morning and she's feeling super sick, just tired. She has a fever. She's nauseous. And she turns to Victor, who's grown even paler overnight. And she's frustrated because she knows that his fate is tied to hers, it seems. Because when she's sick, Victor seems sick. And she has this vivid image while she's laying there of soft feathers, sharp claws, and a delicate neck clutched tightly in her hands, with blood dripping from her brow as the black cloaks beat her mercilessly, forcing
Mhm.
her to do monstrous things. It might be a fever dream, it might be a memory. We don't really know, but she has another vision that kind of pops into her head. And it's her and Victor laughing and having a good time. And she knows that in the future that they'll be happy and that hopefully, they'll get past all of this. As Charlotte kind of rests some more, there's a lot of resting in this memory.
So it
Because
sounds like she needs it.
yeah, but it sounds
Yeah.
like she's been on the run for a while.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
needs a nap.
nothing,
For
exactly.
real.
Not a lot of not a lot happens in these first part of the memories because Charlotte's mostly reliving her past and all the bad things that are happening. So she just, that's she spends a few days just resting. Luckily, she's able to and whatnot. So as she's laying there staring at the stars, she hears a low growl in the nearby woods. And of course, she sits up, freaked out because what is happening? Like, oh my God. So she grabs Victor's hand and tells him, "Don't worry, just stay calm. Everything will be fine." So she grabs a large branch and moves toward the sound. She knows wolves are near. They were roaming in the village, no, outside the villages and stuff. But of course, the further out you venture, the higher the risk of running into one gets. So as she's looking into the darkness, she spots a crimson trail etched into the snow, and just beyond it, a massive wolf lays still. Now, its once gray fur is now marred with blood, an arrow planted in its neck, and it looks like hunters have got it and left it to die. So the wolf's dark eyes, though filled with hostility, seem too weak to move, and then a high pitched cry pierces the silence. A little white cub hiding beneath the wolf's protective leg. A dying wolf and its offspring struggling to survive in the harsh wilderness. Which, my God, why?
Mm-hmm.
So Charlotte knows what she has to do, even if it's weighed heavily on her heart, and she hates herself. But she leans over and scoops up the tiny pup into her hands. And the mom wolf just isn't going to make it. She's going to die. So the dying wolf is trying to rise. It's stuck in kind of like a deep hole, I guess, it seems like. The poor mom wolf is just not going to make it. She's too tired. She's too weak. So Charlotte helps the wolf come out of the hole and holds him. But unfortunately, Charlotte knows that she has to put the other wolf out of its misery and pulls out the arrow. And unfortunately, mom wolf dies from the blood loss. But at least it didn't suffer anymore. So the cub is frantic and desperate, and it's running and crying. And so Charlotte waves the branch at the pup, telling it to go, to get away from her. She doesn't want to deal with it, even though she would love to, because it's another thing to love, and give her solace maybe in her dark night. But it runs off into the shadows, and Charlotte is, of course, sad and upset. And she thinks she's no better than the hunters, but also that the wolf was just too far gone. And it's better to let him go than to watch him suffer. We're still in darkness. This is another memory. And Charlotte is just stuck with this moral dilemma of what she did. She feels like she's basically no better than the hooded people who took her, but it's just something that she kind of is stuck with. And she goes back to thinking about her mother. Her mother's capture where the witch hunters had been such a dark part of Charlotte's life. The hunters had taken shelter in a rickety wooden shed behind the church, close to the woods. This is a new flashback. The shed was so old and dry that a spark could have set it ablaze, but Charlotte had done nothing but wait for the impending trial. The trial, however, had been nothing but a farce. Her mother was unjustly accused and sentenced to be burned at the stake. Charlotte was unfortunately forced to watch her mother burn, and it's stuck in her memory forever, as it would be for almost anybody. She wonders if there were moments in her mother's life where she could have intervened to prevent suffering, but her mother kind of tells her in a memory that let no one pull you so low as to hate them. In the end, you'll hate yourself the most for it. But now her mother's gone and she kind of comes back to the present and just keeps thinking about her mother. But then she remembers that I have Victor. Unfortunately, his cheeks are turning blue and his condition is deteriorating. So she has to think of something. Like, we have to go past all of this and just get Victor help. As the day breaks, a loud noise tears through Charlotte's slumber and her eyes open. At her feet are a pile of ashes and the longest extinguished fire. So she's like, what happened? Like, what, did I fall asleep again? It seems like she sleeps a lot, but it's fine. You know, she's
She's
having a
tired, yo.
she's having a long day. Okay.
Yeah.
Before she can figure out where she is, kind of get a grasp on what's happening, she hears a crack behind her and turns, and it's the villager from the market. He's
Dude, give it up.
I know. He's standing there in the tree line and he's staring at her. He raises his arm and reveals a gleaming bow. And Charlotte thinks, oh shit.
Mm.
Yeah. So she's like, oh God. So he starts to draw the bowstring and she panics, as anyone would. The arrows start to fly by her and she grabs Victor and runs, trying to avoid roots and underbrush. And forest canopy offers pretty much no protection to the arrows that are just raining down on her. She pushes her body to the limit in an unfortunate twist of fate. Her left ankle lands on a hidden stump and she stumbles to the ground. An arrow slices her cheek as she falls.
Always the trip for the ladies, isn't it? When you're running through the
Mhm.
forest,
It is.
breaking
That's
that
always
ankle.
Yeah,
that's always what fells everybody.
she is falling quite a bit. Do you
Yeah.
She
guys
has
notice this?
she's
Like,
got weak ankles, okay?
Oh my
she needs some. I
gosh.
know she needs some good shoes. And
Mhm. So as she fights to regain her footing, her ankle hurts so much it's throbbing in pain. And of course, the villager just won't give up. He's freaking determined. She stumbles a little bit forward when she gets up, but a searing pain shoots through her leg. Her vision is blurred and she collapses to her knees. When she looks down, there's an arrow lodged in her calf. And Charlotte screams. She's trembling, gazing down at Victor, thinking, oh my God, this is it. I've done all of this again for nothing. So as the forest starts to close around her and the arrows continue to fall, and her pain becomes unbearable, she can't help but wonder if she can actually keep her promise to Victor. But gritting her teeth, Charlotte summons every ounce of strength she has and takes an agonizing step forward, dragging her injured leg behind her, and tries to tear through the forest. She raises her eyes and spots a glimmer of hope, a large oak tree perched atop a small hill. And she thinks, a hiding place, the perfect place. He'll never see us. So she clenches her teeth so hard that she tastes blood and uses every ounce of her willpower to just get there. Once she reaches it, she hides behind the oak tree and gasps for breath, her vision blurred, and with a sigh, she collapses into a pile of dead leaves. The arrow's tip had buried itself underneath her skin, and it just is obviously painful. So she presses a palm against the wound, hoping to stem the blood. All she hears is the ringing in her ears, and this is it. There's nowhere else to hide. This is their last hope. Of course, she hears another branch crack behind her, and Charlotte caresses Victor's cheek, their connection deeper than blood. They had one united bond, and if one of them perished, what would they do without the other? So she summons the last remnants of her strength and slowly sits up. Nothing would tear them apart, not even death. They were side by side forever, bound by an unbreakable bond. And that is how the memory ends.
What happens?
I don't know. That's how the tome ends, and we have no idea. I'm assuming she escapes.
I guess
oh
so, because
my,
they end up in the fog somehow.
But
yeah.
yes, unfortunately, the tome memory just ends there. It doesn't go any further. And I was like, "Excuse me, you can't stop that there." That was it. That was the memory, and their surprisingly short lore. I figured it seemed way more in depth, but I guess not.
Well, I mean, it's a lot to process, I feel like.
Hmm. Yeah, and obviously it doesn't say who the villager was. He could have just been a random person, but he seemed very determined for just a a villager who lived there, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
mind your business, sir.
Yeah, so it who because for I mean, he could be a hooded person that were,
One of the
was
black
yeah, the
veil
black
people.
Yeah.
veil people. It could be a witch hunter, who knows? But yeah, he
Yeah.
just seemed way more determined than a pesky little villager.
Yeah.
Tell you what, Charlotte's theme song is Surface Pressure from Encanto.
Oh, there you go.
That's all I could think of.
We also need to get her some sturdy shoes so she doesn't fall all the time.
I know.
know.
Gosh, part of me hates that though because it's so cliche, right? Every like
Yeah.
horror
Mhm.
trope, the girl running stumbles. Like,
Yeah, as
no, stop. And she's the killer. Like she turns into
e
the killer. Don't make her stumble.
exactly. Which is kind of like, a 360 thing. She's the hunted and then she becomes the hunter. So,
Oh, this was a villain that was made by society, that's for
mhm.
sure.
This was
Hmm.
definitely her villain story.
Very like Frankenstein-esque in regards to just everyone, like the creatures just keeps wants to be part of everything and everyone just rejects him until he's just like, well, if you're gonna act like a monster, I'm gonna become one.
Hmm.
Exactly, yeah.
And it
And
just
then I
grows the
realized
hatred.
Mm-hmm.
I realize now that as far as that person knows, the villager that's hunting them, all she did was steal. So I don't think he knows about Victor, which makes it even more sus in my opinion. So I would love to have more lore from them. This was the only tome they did for these two, so I
Oh,
would love some more backstory
oh, so
now that I've looked into it.
you want to go against more twins, is what you're saying.
Oh God,
No.
no. I take that back. It is interesting though that in the memory, Victor is seemingly alive, but in their lore, they say that he's dead. So
Yeah.
maybe they
Well,
changed that up for
that's
later.
kind of like the night lore that Mocking did in regards to the memories having like an expansion and kind of not being on the same track. Like there were some inconsistencies.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Because
with
even like a
the
yeah,
knight's childhood and his mom, like the mom was
yeah.
portrayed very differently in the tome lore versus the little we got in the base lore.
Yeah.
So I think essentially what we're getting is that Victor kind of just like over time, maybe just like you said, like I don't know, died then came back. Like who knows? That's kind of confusing. But he unfortunately it looks like she had to watch her brother deteriorate, which sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like
And
a sudden passing like in the base
no,
lore. It's slow. And maybe
yeah,
he's not completely dead. I still think this is all theory. Like maybe something with the experiments, or
Hmm.
maybe just their bond, or maybe their
the
bond
fact
plus
that
the experiments. Like who
yeah, I
knows?
mean
Like is
technically he's attached to her, so I would assume that like she's probably keeping him alive with her own blood and, whatever pumping through him.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
I don't
Yeah, it
But
know.
looks
We're not
so
doctors.
this
It's kind of
yeah,
a strange situation.
scientifically, we don't know how
plus
this
I
works.
I also don't think this is how conjoined twins work, but what of?
no, I don't because if you
Wait,
lose like blood flow,
are you saying DVD's not scientifically accurate?
It
did
might not be.
they
They
did,
might have to look into
did they
that.
Wait, I
consult
can't
with a team
heal
of
somebody by
doctors?
just rubbing them with my hands?
No, no, no. That only happens in Dead by Daylight.
Gentle patting on the back, rub. This back
It's
rub
like
will
it's
magically
like those
make you feel
YouTube
better.
clips. Healing hands, healing hands.
Healing hands.
Yes, because when the giant hook goes into my chest cavity, I would probably die.
Yeah,
There's
I
no
could
hole
easily get you
there.
off.
There's no hole after you get unhooked either. Like
Well, that
Yeah.
either. Yeah, you're magically saved.
you can still run around and do a gen after being unhooked.
I mean, priorities, right? I do like that some of Charlotte's outfits make a little more sense now because I feel like she
Hmm.
has two outfits in this store that are both like sea related. She has like her stowaway one where she looks like a little pirate, and then she
Hmm.
has one that is more like I think there's like seaweed. She has like a basket with an
Oh,
octopus in
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's kind of very
So
Davy Jones
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to think of the name I was thinking of, tip my tongue. So like those outfits make a lot more sense to
And it
me.
looks like her a weapon is called the Blade of Marseille, and it was a battered sickle that Charlotte stole from a farmer's home and just kind of modified it. So most of her stuff is like found objects, which, like you said, makes more sense, especially knowing their backstory.
Modified. She's smart. Oh my God, her and the Huntress.
Yeah, that's true.
They'd make a pretty good pair. Both,
All that
inventive and
DIY.
innovative for real.
In the woods, like they're gonna feel at
They would
home.
have an amazing Pinterest page.
They
Hey guys,
would.
it's me, Charlotte. I'm gonna show you how to
They
make
could.
your sickle look amazing before you go out to kill survivors.
So I
Oh
guess
my.
I have some trivia too.
Ooh,
Mm.
okay.
So this
Yay.
is the twins were the first time in DBD's history that you could play two characters in one at one time as a
Mm.
killer,
Oh
which was
Mhm.
yeah.
pretty cool. Like everybody was like, "Oh my god." Victor was the third killer to kill with his hands and not an actual weapon. And they actually are only the fourth killer to have two Mori animations. When Victor is attached, Charlotte has a different kill. And then if he's not attached, Victor or Charlotte finishes off the survivor after
Mhm.
Victor does his thing. They were originally called the siblings, but then the name was changed. And in an interview with Matthew Coty, he said that Charlotte was supposed to be pregnant
Oh.
instead of Victor being in her chest, which interesting.
I'm
But the
glad they didn't do
developers
that.
I'm
abandoned that
really
idea.
glad they didn't do that. That was a good idea to abandon. Yay for
Yeah.
looking out.
That would
Yeah,
definitely be the
so
kick the baby round right there.
yes. Yeah, because
Oh
Victor's not a
no.
baby.
Victor's not a baby, but we went the pregnant route, and
Exactly.
that goes against like every
Yeah.
platform's TOS, right?
Yeah. Because when I
Oh
read that, I
gosh,
was
for
like, oh, good
real.
God, I'm so glad they changed their mind. I mean, there's not a lot of trivia, but there were a few things that were like, oh God, why? So yeah, this one, they're pretty, I say old killers. I mean, they came out in 2020, so they've been around for a bit. But honestly, I haven't gone against a twin in a very long time, which
Well,
probably will happen now that I've said that.
no, well, it will happen eventually because they're reworking the
Yeah,
twins.
they're gonna
Oh, that's
rework.
right.
But
And my
we getting yeah. Ugh.
understanding is it's not going to be like a massive overhaul. I think they're still going to play very similar to how they do now, is what it seemed like. Because I know there were some, those
Let's
few twins players that were
yeah,
concerned.
the four that play
And
them.
yeah, the four.
4 twins mains.
Yeah,
And so if
there are a
someone is a
few.
good twins player, it is scary
It
when you're playing the
is.
game and you hear that
Mhm.
sound of Victor leaving Charlotte's chest. The like the little sound it
Yeah.
makes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, should I just go hide in the locker and give up now?
Let's see. It looks like the question was, I think this was from their Ask Me Anything, and
Mm-hmm.
they answered that they have designed them, but it won't be released until early 2024. And it just kept getting pushed back because of other things.
Yeah, for
But
like over a year or
it doesn't,
more.
Mhm.
yeah, it doesn't say what happened, like what they're doing. I don't know if they did say that somewhere else.
That I know
Hang
of.
on, let me.
I mean, so that's exciting. I'm interested to see what their rework's going to be, especially since it's been almost 3 years, 2 to 3 years
Yeah. And I
since
don't
their
think like
thing.
they got a super favorable welcome like when
Mm-mm.
it came out.
It was buggy. That's what I
Hmm.
remember.
Yeah.
It was very buggy.
Yeah, it looks like just from reading things that they may change how the killer plays, but I don't know how old this article is. I don't know. I can't remember. I think it was playing DBD by 2020 because I know we started playing over the pandemic online.
Well, we were playing when they came out. Like we had
Okay,
already
that's
been
what I
playing
thought.
when they came
Yeah,
out because I think I recall her being one of the first brand new killers
because I was like,
that
oh, this
came
is
out
gonna
after I
be
started playing.
fun, and then I was like, I don't like them.
I mean, they have done tweaks over time in regards to like things that Victor can and can't do.
Hmm. I don't remember if he was always able to trap people in lockers or if that's something they added.
That was later, wasn't it?
I think it was later,
I think
like,
it
because that
was
was one of the
2.
ways you could evade him by getting in the locker.
Yeah, because it was like,
Yeah.
well, fine, I'll just hop in a locker and then wait out Victor's cooldown, you know?
Yeah, and then they made it to where he can actually trap you in there. He can do a couple other things, I think.
I mean, I say he can fly. He can't fly, but he can like,
He can
jump.
pounce, that's for sure. I've
Yeah.
seen some amazing like people who really know how to play Victor. Very strategic on where they place him. So like he can pounce from, if it's a map that has like 2 stories down on you, getting it just right to go over pallets and hit you.
Mhm.
I
I
mean, Victor's one tough dude when he's chasing you.
I always thought like when Victor got on my back and I'm like, "Oh, we got the exit gates open. I'm just gonna leave with Victor." But guess what? You can't. So,
No,
No.
but you can leave through the hatch with
Yeah.
yeah.
Victor.
But I always felt like superior until I learned you cannot actually do that.
Yeah. And sometimes some people will, once Victor pounces, will to try to give their teammates some time, try
Mhm.
to hold on to Victor as long as possible
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
Charlotte can't like recall him.
Yeah, they had to fix
Uh,
that because initially I don't think there was a time limit on how long you could
yeah,
hold Victor.
there wasn't. Yeah.
Mhm.
This also goes to like the thing we've talked about in the past, how you have these characters that really they just want to do their best and survive. And
Yeah.
like our Vommy Mommy, our plague, and they ended up being killers and you're like, Why?" Like
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
it's so sad.
I feel like a lot of the killers have a very sad lore. Like I think of Spirit
Oh,
Mhm.
also
Spirits is
has,
awful.
and
Yeah.
it's like nothing she did, you know. It's kind of like with Charlotte.
Mhm.
It's nothing like she did. It's because it's not even anything like her mom did either, because her mom wasn't a witch. It was just that was
Yeah.
the superstition at the time that because you
Mhm.
had these really weird babies that
It was a
you must.
genetic anomaly,
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
But
it
you're a
was
witch
not.
because there was no way to
Yeah.
explain it back then.
Well,
So.
unless, they would accuse you of like sleeping with the devil
Hmm.
Yeah.
and stuff like that is basically what happened.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
this was, let's see, I think I said 17th century, so
yeah.
definitely in the throes of, witch hysteria everywhere. And yeah, it
That's
was
so
pretty much
sad.
like if a woman just like sneezed and was like, "Oh, she's a witch. We must burn
They
her."
caught a woman trying to read.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
she's got a book. She's a
Did you look at
witch.
that sign and read it? You're a witch.
It's like, no, I just want to better my education. Witch,
Just trying to know
Witch.
which way to go. Geez,
right?
read the directions on the sign.
But yeah, and the more I think about it too, going back to this, I want to know if the experiments that they did on them were any way related to the plague. Or not, maybe not the experiments, but like where they take them and everything. It just seems so familiar.
Oh well, yeah, I wonder if the temple's related. Like the Black Veil, like I don't know how much lore there is there about them because I think there's like 2 societies, isn't there?
I want to say that. Yeah, I want to say there's
There's
more than
another
one.
society.
Two.
Yeah, there's more than one.
Because I think
And
I think like Victor and Elodie's parents are part of another society.
Hmm.
yeah, I
That's
want to
how
say there's
Felix and
like
Elodie know each
2.
other
Yeah.
because their parents were in the society together.
And it's kind of like right now we don't really know like is one good, is one bad?
True.
I know when we
Obviously, it
do
sounds like the
Blight, there's
one's
going to be
bad.
one going on.
And really, I
Um,
think there
Yeah.
might be more than one like
yeah.
temple location too.
Mhm.
Because I don't know if I'd have to go back and read Nick Cage's lore if it really sounds like the Plague Temple. I want to say no because it sounded like it was like on like maybe an island. I'm trying to remember. Like it was very remote and
Mhm.
and I think also with like I'm trying to recall. We'll get to all the lore eventually. Like in Elodie's lore where she ends up like in searching for clues and stuff. I'm betting
I want
there's
to
gonna
say
be
island's been mentioned before.
yeah, I think
It was going to an island. I think that Nick Cage fell in with the Black Veil and didn't realize it.
yeah. Oh,
Probably.
It is
totally.
what it
But I'm
sounds
just
like.
saying like there might be more than one location where they're looking for evidence of the entity and things like that.
Yes, it was a cult named the Imperiati. They are aware of the
Okay.
existence of the entity, and it looks like they're maybe the other side of the Black Veil, but I don't know if they're evil, so we'll find out. Because
We shall
I've
see.
seen Elodie's lore and Felix's like in game, and it is insanely detailed,
Hmm.
Mhm.
which is amazing. Like they definitely like went into this. So it'll be interesting to get to that.
Yeah. So Nick Cage was taken to a cave,
Yeah.
which was home to some crumbling ruins of an ancient temple.
Of course it
So
was.
probably not Temple of Purgation, but I do think that they're trying to link Nick Cage to Blight and Doctor, with some of the names
Yes.
mentioned in his lore.
Oh,
Ah,
totally.
okay.
But with twins, it would be interesting if the temple in Nick Cage's lore is related to the twins.
Yeah, same.
Since my conspiracy theory is that this is Black Veil and that would have been Black Veil. So maybe he was at the however many centuries later, Nick
Mhm.
Cage was at the same spot where Charlotte and Victor were tortured.
Oh,
That
maybe.
would be interesting.
Because I mean, the ones for the plagues era, those could have been like the beginnings of the Black Veil before they became what they are this time.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's really cool. I'm starting to like, look at all this thinking, oh my God, everything's connected.
For the most part, except for like the very beginning characters.
Yeah, except for maybe Meg.
Oh, poor Dwight and
Yeah,
Meg,
Dwight,
Claude,
Meg, and
Jake.
Claude, Jake, yeah.
Just pulling random people in. We gotta
Yeah,
feed the entity.
they had no rhyme or reason for being there. They were just unlucky.
It's like they went for a walk or got on a bus
That
or
Yeah,
yeah, that was
was
totally
just walking
Meg's.
in the wood. Yeah.
it's
I've
even
never
sadder.
Yeah, I've never delved into like their tome lore to see if they really gave any more for them other than it's just they happened to be walking in the wrong place at the wrong time
I think
and the entity was like,
Claude's.
"I'll take you."
I want to say Claude's tome lore was her childhood growing up and how
Yeah.
she was really into botany and stuff like that. I think Dwight's. I think he got. Didn't he get left or something? I don't know. I think there's a bit to it, but I mean, when you look at the base lore, though, it's like barely two
Two paragraphs.
paragraphs,
Yeah.
right? It's like Meg does
This
sports and
is
she has a sick mom, and I'm like, poor Meg's mom is sick,
I
and now
know,
she's
like
in
what's
the
going on?
no.
Meg got on a bus and was never seen again.
Yeah,
Poor Dwight. He's probably at work. That would be my luck. I'd be stuck at work and then get sucked into the
like
thing.
That's what the
I have a
entity
deadline
did.
due.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have an opportunity in the tome lore to actually give them real like true lore and try to link it other than just random people pulling in because I don't know who knows that because the entity is said to like go in across like this big multiverse and try to like destroy worlds and stuff like that and take people, but I would think there would be like a reason for the entity taking whatever it is they're taking because it sounds like it's all part of some big master plan. But yeah, hopefully we'll get actually lore for them one day. Until then, since we're going like starting with like the oldest,
Hmm.
we're getting all the lore now because they started to add massive amount of lore as they continued adding, killers and survivors.
Yeah, because some of
Um,
this lore probably would have been very short.
Mm.
yeah, so it's going to be heavy up front now that we're doing that. But as we get closer to modern day, it starts to get more minimal unless we can find links or do like tinfoil hat talks of our conspiracy
Oh, there
theories.
you go.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to do this to kind of compare early tome lore to what they're
Hmm.
doing now because there is tome lore for the earlier survivors like Dwight and Kate
Hmm.
and Claude and see if they just really concentrate on them as individual people or if they do try
Hmm.
to connect them more, if that really just came later. We'll have to
Hmm.
see. Because I kind of vaguely remember some of the older tome lore, but like Kate's and Claude's, but I mean, I can't tell you if it's really connected to the entity too much, or if it's just like people being in the wrong place at the wrong time, which is also a
True.
probability stumbling
Mhm.
upon the entity and where it's seeping through.
Yeah, or
And
stumbling upon Lady Voldemort in the forest when you're flying a kite. I mean, things happen. Bad things happen to good people.
no kite fighting, people. Don't do that. Apparently, don't lose your kite in the
Don't run off in
woods.
the woods and lose your kite.
I mean, really,
Exactly.
you should
Trauma
not run
merchant.
off. Really, you should not run off in the woods by yourself anyway. But there could be a skull merchant in the
Yeah.
the woods
And
apparently
nobody wants
with
that.
daddy issues.
Yeah,
With daddy issues.
that explains some of her outfits.
Oh my god! When
I
we
can
get to
relate.
her lore, I'm like really
Oh
looking forward to
no.
tearing it apart because I have
Oh, I
issues.
wonder who's gonna get it.
I know, right?
Because
We're
right
gonna.
now we're kind of alternating. So I'm up next.
We're gonna have to draw straws.
I
Oh
know.
my gosh.
We're
No
like
one
rock
go
paper
and count.
scissors.
It's gonna be a surprise.
Right? Someone's gonna figure it out and be like, "Oh, guess who gets it?"
Whoever gets it has to buy her.
Oh God.
I got shards.
They're like, "Can I
Because-
rip her?
Like that's
Can I
the
get a
national money.
refund?
Can I just do shards?
Can I just borrow her? Give her back?"
Sarah's 7-day free trial.
That would be great.
All right. Oh my god, who's up next? Is the Oni?
I don't
Oh,
know. I
good
think so. We
question.
talked about Oni because we debated
Yeah, I
which
think
one
it's
was
the
first.
Oni. Yeah, I think they're both just two. I think they're just really close together. So I'm not sure if there's like a who
It
comes
was either
first, who
the
comes.
Oni or the Blight,
Oh, where's our
maybe.
list?
I know.
Oh
I'm like,
yeah, we
where's
need to check
the
our
list?
list.
We had a list. Where's the list?
Oh
It's all right.
man.
We're too busy laughing about skull
I know. I was like, don't
merchants
worry,
and soul
guys. We're
merchants.
totally organized.
We're totally professionals here.
I'm not organized at all, and I've been drinking since I got off at work.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
It's Whiskey Wednesdays.
Oh, there you go.
Also, we usually play after the podcast, so if you come across us in a match, Queen might be playing a little odd.
Yeah.
I never played odd. What are you talking about?
She might just
Okay.
be swerving as she
It's called drifting. Hello.
Well,
We're-
if you go off,
we
let's
posted
see.
this is the other problem, like we have posted so many other things.
I was just thinking
Yeah,
the
our
same.
Discord's a mess right now.
'Cause
We talk to each
there's
other too much.
Yeah, there's
We gotta stop
Asimov's
talking.
timeline, but then there's also one that somebody posted in the forum for behavior.
We talked
Let's
about
see.
Oni.
I found.
Because this says the twins were from 1678 to 1696, which is so specific.
Someone knows
Oh,
their
maybe
history.
Oni was before because I have.
I think we
See,
saw two conflicting things, so we just went with twins next. So
yeah, because the one timeline had the twins at a different section. And we were like, which one should we pick? It'll be one of those. So it'll be a surprise.
Stay tuned for someone.
maybe
I'm
Oni.
fairly- I feel
Maybe
like
Oni.
I think
Maybe
it's
Blight.
Oni.
It's gonna be
I-
a surprise.
Oh, see, this one he talks about the blight next.
We gotta find our
On
list.
Asimov's.
Where did we post the list?
It's under ideas in the Discord.
That's great. We're so unhinged.
Oh, there we. Okay, I see more
Yeah, it
bits.
scrolls
Okay,
up a little bit.
so
Yeah, and then we posted the video. They
Oh,
were
yeah.
conflicting timelines.
so it's either
yeah.
Oni or Blight, basically. I would
Yeah.
say
Most likely
Oni.
Oni.
I would say Oni.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if they're really close, I mean, they're gonna take place like geographically in very different parts of the
Mhm.
world, so they're not gonna like
Yeah, but
intertwine.
yeah.
They're close. Yeah, Blight's a bit later than twins, so yeah.
It's
Blight's,
yeah.
Blight's gonna be a big one.
Who's getting
Yeah,
Blight? So that's me.
He's gonna
That would be.
I was like, that's you.
She'd be like, you know what, Queen? I think Blight.
I'm feeling a little sick. on her mother.
Well, the
Yeah.
Oni, I think I was looking at the Oni originally. His doesn't seem horribly long, but he does have a lot of stuff.
And he's
The
related
And
to
it
Oni's
Spirit.
Yeah, I
and
know.
it's
The
cool
Oni's
because
interesting because of the relation to spirit.
yeah, and it's like feudal Japan, which is like so cool.
Hmm
I know, I'm jealous.
We'll use our investigation skills and we'll figure it out. You guys will. Well, it'll be a fun time.
That or we're gonna rock, paper, scissors. Which one goes
There you go.
Just put them in a hat. We'll draw names.
draw? Oh, hang on, we weren't gonna count. Let's see. This would be just
Oh God.
Because I know some videos I've seen, it looks like
Queen.
Oni is kind of in the middle of Blight's lore
Yeah, I mean it's
in
probably
regards
around
to
the
like
same
where he comes
time.
in. But that depends. You know what? Behavior would be so much easier if you just gave us dates.
I mean, they did with Knight. I will give them props. Knight had
Yeah, and
newer ones are getting more.
and Charlotte had like the 17th century, so at least we got a century.
Exactly.
But
They gave
like,
us a generic time.
yeah, it would be really nice to have like dates
Yeah.
to figure some of this stuff out,
That
especially
would
for
be
like
too
the older
helpful.
ones. I feel like the other ones, like later on, we get better time frames.
Oh wait, the licensed ones are in this list.
Uh-oh. I forgot
So
about the licensed
you started
characters.
counting, so your counting's wrong.
Oh, I'm taking them out. Hang on.
Dang it.
I was like, that
Well,
might
I
be a thing we need to
noticed.
decide. Are they gonna be in there?
I think we said for now no. I think if we can loop back around to them, we should. But
Which true, most people know.
Maybe if the only one we would keep in would maybe be the Onryo and Yoshi because they actually created his lore
Oh, true.
based on
Did they
like they
create
worked
that's
with
true.
them.
Ghostface lore because he wasn't
They
Mhm.
changed it.
okay?
No, he's a new character.
It's a new character altogether.
Interesting. Okay, we might include him in the 90s.
Figure out
Of
how
course,
my count's gonna go.
I love how I just gave him the 90s because that's when the movie came out.
Well, that would fit in. I think for his lore there might actually be time frames
Oh,
because
okay.
there's like newspaper articles and stuff.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, wait. Oh, I messed
I'm
up.
So yeah, I mean, I am
oh darn, you messed
impressed.
up.
Forgot to take
I
out
am
Mimi.
I am impressed with the, I guess, the depth they go into the more the game progressed. Obviously, because some of the early characters don't really have the greatest lore, but I don't
Well,
know.
they
They had,
probably hired more than 3 people, so
yeah,
they
I was
were
like, they
going
hired some
through
good
lore.
writers.
Wait, this is
Like
not
except
right.
except for
Or,
whatever happened with Skull Merchant. I don't know
yeah,
what happened there.
or these are all fever dreams that someone had.
Which, you know what? If they played DBD enough, that makes sense to me.
Mm,
Okay,
facts.
this is correct. Oh wait, no, Demogorgon's still in there. Crap, I messed it up.
I like how you're trying to
Oops.
take everything out.
We're gonna fix it. It's fine.
There's a lot that you have to take out towards like the
Luckily, a lot of them are together in the middle.
more modern time, like the shape,
Yeah.
Oh, the shape
Cinnabite.
was like 70s though. He wasn't
Oh,
Yeah,
like
that's
but the
Freddy.
true.
There's a bunch of them that are together. Onryo, Nemesis are together. Oh, Pig, Mastermind, Nightmare,
yeah,
Executioner are all
Executioner.
the same time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait. So you, me. This would be Morbid. Oh, right now it falls on I'm Queen. Am I
Oh.
No.
counting correctly?
Oh,
Which I can't guarantee in any way.
Oh no.
But I took out Ghosty. So we put
it's
Ghosty
gonna be
back
the
in.
most amazing lore episode that
Uh-oh.
ever lured.
We're gonna have a review section where I get to
Yeah.
get my thoughts on how to write a proper story behavior.
Right.
Just gonna my thing.
Oh, I'm gonna put my English degree to use.
I think
Mm,
maybe we need to like go over her lore and then like next episode, can we like rewrite her lore? Like I have ideas.
Yes.
I think
yes,
she
we could
could
Let's
have
drink.
good lore.
rewrite it. She could have great lore. Okay, that's it. We're gonna nail it down. I'm doing Skull Merchant and I'm rewriting her lore. Because
Nice.
her lore is actually pretty short if you think about it.
Mhm.
Like for being a newer killer, her lore and then Renato's and Thalita's is actually pretty short.
Yeah.
I'm rewriting it
Oh,
all.
okay.
Maybe we should each do a rewrite
That
and do
Oh,
would
and we
or
can say our rewrites.
yeah,
that would be fun.
That'd be so cool. Okay,
and
I'm
then
down.
we could do a short read through of the original and be like, see this crap? Here's this crap.
Yeah,
See
this
the
is.
here's ours.
We'll
What is
start with
this
the original, and then
crap?
we'll all come with our own stories.
There we go. Ooh, that'd be fun. Look at us making ideas on the thing.
On the
We're
fly.
smart. We're smart.
But we've got like, I don't know, what,
I was like, we've got a
20,
while.
25 more killer, and that's not survivors even. This is just the this is just the list
Oh
of
my God.
killers. If we integrate the survivors, I don't know where we end up.
Oh, good point.
I have
Unless
no
we.
idea.
Oh God, this is gonna
We're
be
gonna
fun. All right.
we'll be well, it will be a surprise no matter what. But we got plans. Stick around, guys. We have a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
We're not
Well,
going anywhere.
We'll see you in 5 years.
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
excited. 5 years down the road, we'll get to someone.
All right.
Well,
Is that all we have for today?
yeah.
Yeah,
That was
I
fun.
think it
That
was
was fun. That was
just
fun.
the lore. Not much really
It was sad.
happening, I
It was very
guess,
depressing.
in
Yeah.
the game.
You need whiskey after you listen to the
Oh,
lore.
Yeah.
I had already started. It wasn't whiskey. It was Crown Vanilla Royal. Crown Royal
Ooh.
Vanilla. Those words in some order. That's all.
It was in
Oh.
some order.
It's good.
So, yeah, that was it. That was the lore of the twins. I feel kind of bad for them now, I'm not gonna lie.
I know.
But all right.
Next time I get them in game, I'm just gonna go up to them and be like, "I get it. You can kill me."
Yeah, I'm gonna give
Need
them
a
a hug
hug.
and then let them
Give a
die
big
or
ol'
let me
hug.
die. So, yes, thank you guys for listening in on this journey through the lore of the twins. Let's see, stay tuned for our next episode. We don't know what it's going to be. And Queen, do you want to give us your awesome sign off
Yes.
if you remember
So,
it?
as we like to say, have a good morning, afternoon, evening. I forgot for a moment. Wherever you are. And bye.
Bye.
Bye.